Good evening. Welcome to the iBug Mac training course, week 4, lesson 3 for Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. We are going to dive into system settings and the VoiceOver utility, but first, our iBug announcements. You are more than welcome to join us tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Central for our Artemis 2 watch party. Herbie was explaining a little bit of that to me. The Artemis 2 is launching to the moon, and we're going to have like an audio description track for that. And then we'll also be watching an Apple 50th year celebration. Also on Thursday, you have no review session, so you're welcome to come to Trekkie Talk at 7 p.m. They're in season 3 of Voyager, and Kenny and others would love to have you join. Also on Friday, we have iBug Night at the Virtual Movies. Join us at 7 p.m. for the pre-movie social, followed by the movie at 8, which is Funny Girl. I think it's 1963, 61, an older movie. And then there's always a discussion following. As always, you can come to iBug Buzz every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. Central for all of your iPhone questions. We are touching on many topics here, adjusting VoiceOver settings on the Mac, but that is also relevant to, what VoiceOver settings do you use on the iPhone and how do you adjust those? You may want to come and ask those questions. If you are wondering what's going on or if I've forgotten something, also you can visit our website, ibugtoday.org. Now let's delve into our lesson as I close things and make sure we can hear our voiceover.
On.
As I said, tonight we're going to go into system settings to take a look at software updates, accessibility settings, Siri and Apple Intelligence, and then we'll spend some time in the VoiceOver utility. Last time, we accessed system settings categories by going to the dock, placing our cursor on system settings by typing SY or using your arrow keys to get to that, and then instead of pressing return to open, using VO-Shift-M. VO-Shift-M for the shortcut menu. And that brought up a list of system settings categories. Remember, VOM, menu bar, VOMM, status menus, VO-Shift-M, our shortcut menu. Today, we're going to review the shortcut menu again, but I'm also going to show you other ways of accessing system settings categories. I'm taking the example of software updates. Checking for software updates via the shortcut menu is more direct, while checking by going into system settings in one of the more normal or traditional ways is a bit longer. Let's do VOD for our dock.
Dock. Messages 19 of.
And I'm pressing Control to kind of silence voiceover speech. SY for system settings.
System settings 29 of 36.
VO-Shift-M to bring up our shortcut menu.
Menu 45 items. You are
And we could down arrow to access all the categories, or I could type SO.
Software update.
Then press return.
Loop back. System setting. Now in software update window. Sidebar table. Row 10 of 37. General. Selected. You are currently on a table. To enter this table, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
I'm letting VoiceOver give its spiel as a reminder that whole long spiel is a VoiceOver hint. Later on, we'll talk about how to turn hints off. We do not need to interact in the table. The hint can only tell us what to do with the item that's immediately under its focus. You cannot use VoiceOver hints and expect VoiceOver to guide you every step of the way in doing a particular task on your Mac. Hints just don't work that way. They can only give you info or suggestions for how to use the item under your immediate focus. We've already selected software update, therefore we do not need to go into the table. One thing I'm going to do quickly is turn on numpad commands. I'll still give you all the VoiceOver commands, but when I say things like via right arrow, then I will be able to do numpad 6. Or if I say interact via shift down arrow, I'll be able to press numpad 9. And I'm not going to go into all the numpad commands I use, but those made me much more willing to do many more tasks on the Mac. It's the same as if you have access to a trackpad. It's a different way of performing VoiceOver commands. If you don't have a numpad, don't worry about it. I'm just going to turn on the commands so I can use them. And that is done with VO and the numpad clear key.
Numpad key commands on.
Now we will VO right or flick right or numpad 6 in my case. If I was to spend all the time talking about all these different gestures to do the same thing, we'd never get through. So I won't belabor the point too much, but let's VO right.
Vertical splitter.
And again, we know a vertical splitter divides tables from content or sidebars from content, whatever the case may be. A list of categories from the items that are relevant to the category selected. We already chose software updates though, and so let's VO right.
Software update, scroll area.
And now we have a scroll area. Sometimes if you have not updated your Mac, you may immediately see the update before the scroll area. And there will be, an update now button or a button that says, install now, install later. I went ahead and updated to 26.4 last week. Maybe I should have waited so I could have shown you the update, but I did not want my Mac to restart during the middle of this lesson. Let's go ahead and interact in the scroll area. VO shift down arrow or flick 2 fingers to the right on your trackpad.
11 items selected. Image.
And I'll VO right.
Mac OS Tahoe 26.4.
VO
You
right.
are current check for updates button.
If I press check for update, which you may want to do if you're expecting to see an update and it's not showing, it will take you completely out of this scroll area. You would need to interact again, at least that's been my experience. It's no big deal. I don't need to check for an update since I know I've recently installed 26.4.
Automatic updates. On automatic updates. You are currently on a text element. Show detail button.
And showing the detail would allow you to choose the type of automatic updates, whether things download, and then when they install. I would just leave everything there at its default settings.
Beta updates. Off beta updates. Show detail button.
Beta updates, again, maybe wait to do that until you are more comfortable using the Mac. Participating in beta testing and software is free, but you may want a secondary device if you choose to do that.
Use of this software is subject to the original license agreement that accompanied the software being updated. Link learn more. Help button. Help button.
And we've reached the end. Help always signifies to me, oh, that's the last item on screen. I'm now going to quit System Settings by pressing Command Q.
Loop back.
And let's get out of, well, we don't need to hear loop back every time. Let's not worry about it though. Now let's go into System Settings, what I would consider the normal way or the long way around. We're still going to find Software Update, but I want to show you the slightly more involved process. So if I can either go to System Settings from my dock, as we've always done, or locate it in the menu bar. However you get there, you can press VO space or enter to open it. We're not bringing up the shortcut menu. So let's do VOD.
Dock. System settings, 29 of 36.
We're already on System Settings. Let's press Return.
Loop back. Now in Window. Sidebar. Table. Row 10 of 37. General. Selected.
Now I'll tell you a little bit of a secret about sidebars and things. I've already talked about it. This sidebar you don't need to interact with. Many sidebars where VoiceOver says you need to interact, you don't. The only exception is the sidebar in the Finder, which we will get to next week. I am going to press Option up arrow to jump to the first item in the list, and Option down arrow takes me to the last item in the list. This works in Finder, provided your view is set to column or list view, or in a list of mail messages or mailboxes, even in these lists and things that we have in system settings. Let's now do Option up arrow.
Chanel Ellen, Apple account.
I'm going to down arrow through here so you can hear the different things that are here. Notice, though, at some point we heard that there were 37 items. Remember, when you do VOD, SY, VO Shift M, you have somewhere around 45 items. Going to System Settings in the dock and doing the shortcut menu there will show you more categories. And you'll see this borne out when we down arrow through System Settings here. In our System Settings Categories table, that's a mouthful, let's down arrow and see if we can find Software Update.
Family, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, network, battery.
By the way, Bluetooth is where you would go to pair a new device.
General, accessibility, appearance.
All right, it kind of cut off saying accessibility, but that's what it was on, and we'll go to that in a little bit.
Desktop and Apple Intelligence and
Okay.
Siri.
I pressed down arrow, but it didn't read that.
Desktop and dock. Displays. Menu bar.
Menu bar, that's where you can choose what appears in your menu bar, what appears in Control Center.
Spotlight. Wallpaper. Notifications.
In Macintalk or somewhere, we had a question about notification sounds. This is where you would go to choose how specific apps notify you and how notifications in general or grouped are displayed on the Mac.
Sound.
Sound is where you would choose your input and output device for the Mac. We're going to talk about sound and the VoiceOver utility, and that'll be a little bit different. But this is where you choose your default input and output device. So the default mic and the default thing that you listen through, whether it's speakers or a headset.
Focus.
There's a lot more to sound as well, but focus. This is where you can customize certain focus or do not disturb modes.
Screen time. Lock screen. Privacy and security. Touch ID and password. Users and groups. Internet accounts. Game Center. iCloud. Wallet and Apple Pay. Keyboard.
Called
Trackpad.
Software Update.
Printers and scanners.
Sorry, it was just taking a while to read things. Software Update is under General. VoiceOver was already focused on General. You do not need to follow me on this detour through all the categories. That is unnecessary. And perhaps if we had interacted, the reading of these would be more smooth. I will acknowledge that. But let's now go ahead and press GE for General.
General.
And I did not interact. I can then press VO right arrow.
Vertical splitter.
Again, we have a vertical splitter.
Scroll area.
In this scroll area, we are going to find subcategories under General. I'll VO right, I will interact, VO Shift down arrow.
In scroll area. 16 items general.
And I'll VO right.
Manage your overall setup and preferences for Mac, such as software updates, device language, AirDrop, and more. About button. Software update button.
I pressed VO right 2 more times, and I've landed on the Software Update button. Let's go ahead and VO space.
Software update window. Toolbar.
And if we VO right.
Software update.
And go through all this. Now, let's say we didn't want to go to the toolbar. We didn't want to have to arrow past the vertical splitter and all that. The categories table, whatever. We can jump directly to the scroll area by pressing VO end. That is VO FN right arrow. This is where I would also tell you to use VOJ. When I was practicing this presentation, VOJ was quite uncooperative. We will use it in the VoiceOver utility, and I will explain more about what it does. But for now, we can just do VO end.
Software update, scroll area.
And then you can interact, and we don't need to go through that rigmarole again. Let's do VO home.
Toolbar.
And VO right.
Software update.
VO right.
Search text field. Sidebar. Table.
Okay, we had to press VO right a few more times, more than I wanted to. But that's all right. We're going to switch gears and talk about having VoiceOver turn on when you're actually logging into your computer. No one has complained or mentioned this to me yet, but you may have it where when you turn on your Mac and you are required to log in, you'll have to press Command F5 to turn on VoiceOver. Then once you log in, VoiceOver is already on and you're good to go. We can control a setting that has VoiceOver turn on when you actually need to enter your username and password. That setting is located under Lock Screen, an odd place for accessibility settings at login, but that's where it is. If I now go ahead and press the letter L in this sidebar.
Lock screen.
I did. Now let's go ahead and VO end, actually.
Lock screen, scroll area.
And then interact, VO shift down arrow.
In lock screen, scroll area. 22 items turn display off on battery when inactive.
Lock screen controls display, what happens when your Mac prompts you to relog in, and a bunch of other things. I just want to point out that thing about when your Mac requires you to log in again, because people have asked me, being very concerned that they have to constantly enter their password, and that would drive anyone crazy. So let's just take a brief detour to examine those options, and I will VO right.
For 5 minutes, turn display off on battery when inactive, pop-up button. Turn display off on power adapter for 1 hour. Turn display off on power adapter when inactive, pop-up button.
You can go into these pop-up buttons as we'll demonstrate and adjust the value. Let's continue though.
Warning: energy require password after screensaver begins or display is turned off.
Okay, require password after screensaver begins or display is turned off. This controls when you are prompted to re-enter your password. And if you feel, exhausted by having to re-enter it every 5 minutes, you might want to change the time here. I'm going to VO right.
Never require password after screensaver begins or display is turned off, pop-up button.
I've set mine to never. While I do have a laptop, it stays in the vicinity of my home. Or when I go visit family, I'm not really concerned there. However, you may want to still have your password be required after a certain point. And to choose one of the options, we can get into the pop-up button. A pop-up button is simply a menu of additional choices. On Windows, we are familiar with the term combo box. And as with a combo box, you can simply press down arrow to get into the pop-up button. Yes, we can hit VO space, and that's totally valid. But if you just want to press one key and, open the menus, and it just feels nicer to just be able to get in with open it with down arrow. We're like literally pulling down or a menu. I mean, it's a pop-up menu, but whatever. I'm going to down arrow.
Menu, 9 items, check mark never. Immediately.
And yours may be set that way where the password is required immediately when your display turns off or the screensaver starts.
After 5 seconds. After 1 minute. After 5 minutes. After 15 minutes. After 1 hour. After 4 hours.
Maybe you'd like to set yours to 1 hour instead of after 5 or 15 minutes, whatever the case may be.
After 8 hours.
press return or VO space to choose one of these choices.
Check mark never.
Or since I don't want to change anything, I will press escape.
Closing menu, never require.
Now I'll VO right.
Show username and photo.
Okay, here's a bunch of things with just how the usernames are displayed, what's shown on the login screen. I'm going to skip to the bottom. And again, I can do that with VO end or VO FN right arrow.
Help button.
And unfortunately, when I do that, it doesn't take me exactly to the button I want. I'm placed on help, which is still a good landmark because we know that's the end of the window. Let's go ahead and VO left, or I can press numpad 4.
Accessibility options button.
And VO space on accessibility options. Now I'm going to VO left.
VoiceOver. You are currently on heading accessibility.
I pressed VO left again. It's not really explaining. It won't explain till the end what this is or what enabling a feature does. But let's VO right.
VoiceOver.
And VO right again.
VoiceOver on switch.
If your VoiceOver is set off switch, you can go ahead and VO space to turn it on. I would recommend having the rest of these off. Sometimes people help someone who's blind or set up a computer, and somehow all the accessibility features get enabled. And that can cause a lot of havoc, but more so when you're logged into the Mac. And so, I guess having these on the login screen might not be too big of a deal, but definitely once VoiceOver is running, you might want to minimize the amount of features that run with VoiceOver at the same time. Again, I do not have experience using other accessibility features. However, when helping students in the past, it seems like when they've had, other display settings on, VoiceOver is sluggish and behaves in kind of strange ways, but perhaps things work all right. I just don't have the requisite amount of experience. But let's go ahead and VO right.
Zoom off switch.
So you have what identifies the item, zoom, and then if you VO right again, you have an on-off switch.
Accessibility keyboard star. Accessibility keyboard star off switch. Sticky keys off switch. Slow keys off switch. Mouse keys off switch. Turning off a feature disables that feature for all users at the login window but can be turned back on by the accessibility shortcut menu. Star by turning on a feature. Your own configurations will be used for all users at the login window. You are currently
very good. So if you have other people that log into the Mac, you may not want your VoiceOver coming on, and so you may choose to ultimately have it turn on manually, and you can do that with Command F5. But if you're the only one using your Mac, it can be worthwhile to come in here and check the box to have it on. All right, let's VO right arrow.
Done button.
And VO space on done.
Accessibility options button.
I want to review some more system settings categories. I don't really feel like going back into the sidebar to do that. You might think, oh, we can just go to our dock and do SY and then do our shortcut menu. We could, except for the fact that if system settings is already open, pressing VO Shift M on there does not show the list of categories. But we have an alternative way to access those same categories, and that is via the View menu in the menu bar. If we press VOM for View,
menu bar Apple,
and I would do VI to make things shorter, but if your keyboard navigation isn't quite cooperating, you can right arrow or VO right.
System settings, edit, view.
Then you down arrow.
View, menu, 46 items back command left bracket.
And what do you know? We have 46 items instead of 37. A slightly different number than we had in the dock, but we can assume that all these items are system settings categories. One thing we did not see when we were in Um, well, we haven't actually gone through this whole menu of system settings categories, but we're not going to have subcategories for things like accessibility. The only subcategories we have in the shortcut menu are for general. So, about, software update, all the things under general had subcategories or items showing in the shortcut menu. I know that's a little confusing, but I'm just explaining why the shortcut menu has 46 items when you think, oh, okay, well, there's under accessibility, there's voiceover, there's Zoom, there's display. So shouldn't the shortcut menu have maybe 90 items, let alone all the items under keyboard? It doesn't quite work that way. The shortcut menu and the view menu only show the subcategories under general. Now that I've thoroughly confused you, let's go to accessibility. I'll type in AC.
Accessibility Command Shift Y.
And ignore that Command Shift Y. I created a keyboard shortcut for mine to go there. I created that under keyboard and under shortcuts, and you won't have that. I'll press return.
Closing menu, accessibility options button.
And it's saying accessibility options. It's sounding like we're still where we were under lock screen. But if we VO end or VOFN right arrow,
Accessibility scroll area.
and let's interact, VO shift down arrow,
Inaccessibility scroll area. 30 items accessibility.
the purpose of this class is not to discuss accessibility features. I am not familiar with most of them, but I'm just going to point out a few highlights.
Personalize Mac in ways that work best for you with accessibility features for vision, hearing, motor, speech, and cognition. Link learn more. Heading vision. VoiceOver button.
Here's where you could actually go into VoiceOver, turn it on and off, and see the quick start tutorial and the VoiceOver utility. If you were sighted, you might know this is the only way of going into VoiceOver.
Zoom button. You are currently on a
Zoom magnifies the screen, and I think there are commands to make it work with VoiceOver. Again, I don't know how smooth the experience actually is in practice.
hover text button. Display button.
If you don't necessarily want to use Zoom, but maybe you want certain things magnified or things in different colors or whatever, you might go into display.
Motion button.
Motion. From using the iPhone for a while, I've always heard it's better to turn on reduce motion. You can do that on the Mac. I'm not sure how much that improves the experience of using VoiceOver, maybe more so if you're using the trackpad, but you could go in there and turn on reduce motion.
Read and speak button.
Okay, what I really wanted to talk about was read and speak. Some people use this feature instead of VoiceOver because they want to hear certain portions of the screen read out loud, maybe an email or a document, but they don't want to use VoiceOver to move around the Mac. They only want to hear the text in a certain area. If you have a bunch of things on under read and speak, you might be going crazy hearing two different voices on your machine. Let's go into read and speak, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I want to just make you aware that if some of these things are on, you might hear two voices and kind of get confused. Back when it was called something different, like text, I don't remember, I turned on announcements thinking, oh, great, I'll know about stuff. Well, yeah, they kind of doubled what I already had in the VoiceOver utility. But if we VO space,
Read and speak scroll area.
and we're in the scroll area, we're on it, our focus is on it, so I'll interact.
In read and speak scroll area. 31 items accessibility reader. Accessibility reader off switch. Show detail button.
And you can customize that. I think it's an app for reading text on the screen or having things read out loud, magnifying things.
Read or listen to text in the Accessibility Reader app and customize fonts, layout, and background colors. Press Command Escape to activate Accessibility Reader. Speak selection. Speak selection off switch. Show detail button. Hear selected text spoken loud. Select speech greater than start speaking in the quick actions menu or use a keyboard shortcut.
This is
You are
what I'm more
currently on a
familiar with, where you would use the speak selection to read an email or something or a web page.
speak item under the pointer. Speak item under the pointer off switch.
VoiceOver actually has an option for that.
Show detail button. Mac will speak the words under the cursor. Speak announcements. You are
Okay.
currently
Oops.
speak announcements off switch.
Make
You are
sure that speak announcements is off.
show detail
If
button.
we go into show detail, we hear the types of announcements, but just make sure speak announcements is off. That way you won't hear VoiceOver double. Let's say there's a notification that pops up on your screen, or you can even have VoiceOver speak text you type, certain things like that. We don't need to have all that on.
Mac will speak the text in dialogues and notify you when you need to perform an action in an app.
Yeah,
You
that's
are
speak
currently
announcements. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself.
speak typing feedback. Speak typing feedback off switch.
Again, VoiceOver takes care of that for you.
Show detail. Mac will speak the keys you press and the characters you type. System speech language.
And
You are
here we can choose our system speech language. This can be different from your VoiceOver voice. You can have it recognize dial or text in different languages, but we'll talk more about speech when we get into the VoiceOver utility. I still want to show you a couple more things in accessibility, and I need to go back. I can go back by pressing Command left bracket. Also, you may have heard back when we were in the View menu. The left bracket key is to the right of the letter P.
read and speak button.
Okay, we went and read and speak. Let's continue on via right.
Audio descriptions button.
Here's another thing. It's quite easy to go in and check the box or toggle the switch. Audio descriptions are for any content that has them available, let's say in the Apple TV app, or sometimes even if web pages are set up to do audio described content, they can be enabled for that. And it's just a checkbox that you toggle on.
Heading hearing.
I'm going to skip over hearing. Notice that accessibility is organized with headings, and we can move by heading with VO Command H. Alternatively, if you're using your trackpad, you could turn the rotor to heading and then flick down. But just as a preview of our Safari lesson, VO Command H to go to the next heading.
Heading motor.
Motor. The one thing I'm going to talk about here, if I VO right,
Voice control button.
voice control is basically completely doing everything on your Mac with dictation. We're not just talking about dictating a paragraph or an email, doing everything on your Mac with dictation. And you might think, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Well, that's great, but you also have to dictate what you want VoiceOver to do. Voice control is mainly for those who have limited or no motor ability, cannot use the keyboard. There are some VoiceOver commands for voice control. When I tried to use it a few years ago, it just seemed extremely cumbersome and tedious. But I'm not used to dictating to my Mac or to anything. Maybe it would be easier if I actually had to. I don't know. You can go in there, learn about it, see what all the commands are, even create some of your own. And finally, we've heard about on our iPhone how we can create a personalized voice. The same feature is still available to you here as well on the Mac if you go continue on under Motor. Let's switch gears finally to Apple Intelligence and Siri. I'm going to show you how you turn it on, very simple, and show you the best keyboard shortcuts to use to talk to Siri. And how do I want to go there? Well, I'm going to go back to my View menu, VOM,
Menu bar.
VI,
View.
down
You
arrow,
are current view menu.
and I could begin to try to type in APP, but the first thing that's going to come up is appearance, and that's all right. So I'll just type AP.
Appearance.
But if I down arrow once,
Apple account.
I am now, down arrow twice.
Apple Intelligence and Siri.
I am at Apple Intelligence and Siri, and I'll press return.
Apple Intelligence and Siri, window, toolbar.
Now I'm going to VO end,
Apple Intelligence.
which is VO FN right arrow, VO shift down arrow to interact.
In Apple Intelligence and Siri, scroll area. 29 items Apple Intelligence and Siri.
VO right.
A personal intelligence system integrated deeply into your Mac, apps, and Siri. Link learn more.
VO
You are
right.
Apple Intelligence. You are Apple Intelligence on switch.
From this point on, I will be teaching the class assuming everybody has Apple Intelligence on. In previous sessions, I taught the differences between using Siri with and without Apple Intelligence. I taught both, but I'm going to assume most people have updated Macs, and the feature is sometimes even turned on by default unless you go turn it off. Let's VO right.
Heading Siri requests.
Okay, VO right.
Siri. You Siri on switch.
First thing to do is make sure she's on, which you probably have done. By default, I believe she is on. But let's VO right.
Listen for. You off. Listen for pop-up button.
Here's where you can choose what she listens for. Again, I have mine off. I don't really want my devices listening for that word. I have other devices listening to me. But if I down arrow get into this pop-up button,
Menu 3 items check mark off.
down arrow,
You are Siri or Hey Siri.
down arrow,
Hey Siri.
we can choose. And this does work with any headset. If I am going to shout at her across the room, I need to make sure the correct microphone is chosen. I haven't really done a whole lot of that.
Closing menu.
Let's VO right.
Keyboard shortcut.
Okay, the most important thing I can talk to you about with Siri is the keyboard shortcut that you use. If you're not going to use Hey Siri, and I'm sorry if I've set yours off, I should have given a disclaimer at the beginning of this lesson. Be sure to wear headphones, but I do apologize. I'll try to, just say hey lady or something. Anyway, if we VO right,
Option space, keyboard shortcut, pop-up button.
and this is the pop-up button where we can choose the shortcut. I want to VO right though and let you hear something.
Press to type to Siri, hold to speak to Siri.
Option space has two different actions. When Apple Intelligence is enabled, one of the choices that you have is typing to her rather than talking. Or if you bring up the type screen, there's a button that you can press to talk to her. But if you want to talk to her directly, you need to hold Option space and keep holding. Whereas if you want to type to her, you just press and release Option space. Let's go back to this pop-up button.
Option space, keyboard shortcut, pop-up button.
And let's down arrow.
Menu, 6 items check mark option space. Customize ellipsis. Press globe symbol with meridians S.
Okay, globe symbol with meridians means FNS. Same thing if I press return.
Closing menu. Press globe.
And if I VO right.
Press to type to Siri, hold to speak to Siri.
And that is a choice. We could press FNS, hold it to talk to her, press it to type to her. That is one of your choices for a keyboard shortcut. Let's VO left.
Press globe symbol with meridians S. Keyboard shortcut. Pop.
And let's return into the pop-up button by pressing down arrow.
Menu, 6 items check mark. Press globe symbol with meridians S. Press left command key twice.
Okay. What happens if we choose the command key? It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to press return on left command key.
Closing menu. Press left command key twice. Keyboard.
And I'll VO right.
Press to type to Siri. You are currently on a text element.
Notice we hear press to type to Siri and then you are on a text element. It said nothing about talking to Siri. As a result, or in short, or whatever, You cannot use the command key if you want to talk to Siri. It is out of the question. You must choose either option space or FNS. I have not played around and customize, but those are your only viable options: option space or FNS. And holding is to talk. Pressing and releasing is to type. I'm going to go back to the menu again.
Press left command key.
And down arrow.
Menu, 6 items, check mark. Press left command, press right command.
Right command key too is the same thing. You can only press it twice, and that will only allow you to type to her, unless once you bring up the type screen, then you veer right to the talk button, which seems very pointless and tedious. Let's down arrow.
Press either command key twice.
Same there.
Option space.
And I'm going to go back to my default choice, option space, and press return.
Closing menu, option space.
Just a couple more things to talk about in terms of customization, then we'll do a brief mini demo. Let's via right.
Press to type to Siri, hold to speak to Siri. Language. English United States, language, pop-up button.
This is the language that you speak to her.
Voice. British voice 1. Select button.
Unfortunately, when doing this demo earlier, going into the select button did not let you hear the samples when I would choose a variant and then a specific voice under that variant. But basically, your first table or list is the variants. You can choose from American, British, Australian, Indian, and then under those you have the different voices. I prefer British. Herbie prefers the American Siri. I think that's the female voice 4 or 5. I don't remember. But that is choosing a variant and a voice. Let's via right.
Siri history. Delete Siri and dictation history button. Siri responses. Prefer spoken responses. Siri responses. Pop up.
Another key thing. Prefer spoken responses. By default, I believe it is set to automatic. If you go into this pop-up button.
Menu, 3 items, check mark. Prefer spoken responses. Automatic.
And automatic will try to determine what's best. I don't know what its algorithm for that is.
Prefer silent
or maybe you do prefer silent responses, and that's fine too. Just note that when Siri gives you information, typical iPhone response, you can still do it on the Mac. Here's what I found on the web for, and then you need to do a bunch of interacting to get to what she found. But I'm going to hit escape.
Closing menu. Prefer spoken
and then finally, there is an add-on that you can use with Apple Intelligence. Let's via right.
Voice input is link about Siri. Apple Intelligence is built for link about Apple Siri suggested heading extensions.
I should have just done VO Command H, but whatever. Extensions. If I VO right.
Chat GPT button.
And if I VO space.
Chat GPT extension. Scroll area.
And if I interact.
Chat GPT extension. Scroll area. 12 items. Open a logo image. Use Chat GPT on switch.
Okay, I had to VO left. Use Chat GPT, and then you can toggle that switch on.
Open a logo. Your Mac can use Chat GPT to help you write text, create an image, answer questions, and more. Link OpenAI heading Chat GPT account.
And you do not need to sign in. I did. It basically explains signing in will allow it to remember your requests, kind of, and keep track of them in your history. But I'm going to via right.
Chat Chanella. Sign up if you're signed. Confirm requests.
Here's an important one. Confirm requests.
Confirm requests. Off switch.
I've turned that off. It'll ask you if it's on. It'll say, do you want me to use Chat GPT to do this? Or do you want me to? And I just... I don't care if it does or not. Sometimes, though, you do have to be explicit in asking her to use ChatGPT, and you'll see here in a minute.
If ChatGPT can help, Mac will confirm the request before sending anything to ChatGPT. If ChatGPT...
Okay, very good. We can...
Out of ChatGPT...
We're done here. We could go back, but there's nothing really to fix anymore under Siri. I'm going to quit System Settings with Command Q.
Loop back.
And let's go to my desktop,
Finder.
Shift D, and do a quick demo. So Remember, I'll hold Option space. What's the weather today?
Expect partly cloudy skies today. The high temperature will be 84 degrees and low will be 69.
What's the average temperature for this time of year?
Application. Close 1 of 7.
ChatGPT asks, to provide accurate information, could you please specify your current location?
Houston.
Conversation. Group 7 of 7. You are currently on a group. To interact with items in this group, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
In Houston, the average temperature for late March into early April is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, with highs near 78 degrees Fahrenheit and lows around 62 degrees Fahrenheit. That was from ChatGPT. Check important info for mistakes.
Okay, and conversations do vary. This morning it said, here's what I found on the web, or I can't do that, whatever. Let's go ahead and ask it a question. What's the VoiceOver shortcut to bring up the shortcut menu?
On an iPhone or iPad with VoiceOver, you can bring up the shortcut Rota menu by rotating 2 fingers on the screen like turning a dial. On a Mac, the VoiceOver menu shortcut is Control plus Option plus U. That was from ChatGPT.
Oh dear. Okay, let's ask it again. What is the VoiceOver command to bring up the shortcut menu on a Mac?
On a Mac, the VoiceOver command to bring up the shortcut menu VoiceOver menu is Control plus Option plus U. That was from ChatGPT.
Oh dear. She said the right thing this morning. It just the other day when I did the demo, it was off. You really can't. These things do vary. And it's how I word the question. I'm not very good at wording on the spot with dictation, but yeah. Last year I used to ask her about changing the speech attributes. That was real fun. She'd always get that one wrong. Okay, let's use Siri on a more practical level. Send message to Herbie Allen.
What would you like to say to Herbie?
Just testing silly Siri, period.
It says, just testing silly Siri. Send it?
Yes.
It says, just testing silly Siri. Send it?
Yes, please.
Done.
Okay, and we do not hear the send sound because I have do not disturb on. All right, let's go ahead and get out of her.
Finder.
Well, you can also use her to read messages, like in mail. I tried that the other day. She basically said, let me know if you want to, read this or move to the next. She was a bit more descriptive. I would never use her to read or send messages. You might find Siri useful to open apps, but even then, there's a bit of a little workaround you have to do. So let's tell her to open TextEdit. Option space, I'll hold. Open TextEdit.
Siri icon, button, group 1 of 4. You
And
are
you're
currently
thinking, what in the world? Siri icon button group? She didn't open the app. I'm stuck here. No, you're not. She did open the app, but to get there, you have to hit escape.
Finder.
And then Command Tab.
TextEdit.
And there, she did actually open the app, but she didn't put you directly in the app. Phooey. I can press Command Q to quit.
Finder.
You cannot use her to take actions inside specific apps. But that's pretty much Siri. I have tried to use her to open podcasts. In previous demos, she would. Lately, she is not cooperative with that. Let's move on to our VoiceOver utility. You could ask Siri to open VoiceOver utility, And that's fine, but we can press VO F8, and I'll do that now. You may need to press VOFN F8 if you did not change the behavior of your function keys.
Opening VoiceOver Utility. VoiceOver Utility. VoiceOver Utility. Window. Utility categories. Table. Row 1 of 12. General. Selected. Has keyboard focus. You are currently on a table.
And again, we get the you are on a table spiel. This is a simple list, just like the other tables we've been in. Let's examine a few items under General. I'm going to VO Right.
Speak the following greeting after login. Welcome to Mac OS. VoiceOver display welcome dialog when VoiceOver starts. Unchecked.
The welcome dialog is that thing that, tells you if you want to learn to use VoiceOver, press the V key now. It only comes on the very first time VoiceOver is launched.
Portable preferences off. Image. Portable preferences off.
Portable preferences, well, let's let it explain. If I VO Right.
Setup button. Portable preferences let you take your VoiceOver preferences with you wherever you go.
Okay. Yeah, lets you take your preferences with you wherever you go. If you want to use VoiceOver on multiple Macs, or if you even want your VoiceOver preferences constantly backed up to a thumb drive. You can also go into the File menu and set those up. Let's VO Right.
Allow VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple Script. Checked. Checkbox.
There are certain commands that use Apple Script. Apple Script is kind of, what underlies some of the Apple programs. And so certain VoiceOver commands might be included or might make use of Apple Script. Things like right option T to hear the time, right option U to hear the number of unread messages, right option X to take a screenshot and put it in Mail. There are certain commands that do rely on Apple Script to function, so just make sure the box is checked.
Help button.
Oops, we were on
Allow
it.
VoiceOver to be controlled with Apple Script. Checked. Checkbox.
Yep, just make sure the box is checked for all VoiceOver commands to behave properly. I forget all of them that rely on it, but make sure that box is checked. Okay, let's try VOJ. VOJ can take you from one interactable element or area to another. It's called the go to linked item command, which is not a very apt description. Yes, if you choose a category in a table, then you could VOJ to get to that category's content, but VOJ is not functioning as smoothly as in former times. Let's try it. I think that we're going to find that we'll need to press VOJ 4 times initially to get back to the categories table.
Insert text field.
That was once. VOJ again.
Speak the following.
VOJ again.
Insert text.
VOJ again.
In utility categories, table,
and
row 1 of 12.
We are here. I'll down arrow.
Verbosity.
Verbosity. Verbosity is basically how much information VoiceOver speaks, when, and how that's communicated. There's a ton of stuff we could do in here. I'm going to point out some highlights, but we're mainly going to focus in announcements and hints. I need to uninteract with the table. If I did VOJ, that automatically interacts me into content. There is no scroll area to the right of this categories table. Therefore, VOJ will not jump me into the options related to accessibility. When I tried that earlier, it took me into another table for choosing custom verbosity, and that's way more beyond the scope of this lesson. So let's uninteract. VO Shift up arrow.
Out of utility.
VO right.
Speech selected. Tab.
Speech. The main thing here is you can choose low, medium, or high. I would recommend having it on high or medium. Low will cause VoiceOver to not indicate whether something is a checkbox, a link, a button. And then you can further customize what types of things are spoken, the order that the type is announced versus the name of the item. All that we don't need to mess with.
Braille, tab 2.
Braille has the same items as speech.
Text, tab.
Text, here's where you can do a bunch of things. How VoiceOver indicates repeated punctuation. How much VoiceOver punctuation or punctuation in VoiceOver is spoken in general. Whether VoiceOver raises the pitch when saying caps or says cap. Many of these things can be controlled in the VoiceOver verbosity rotor, and I'll explain what that is in TextEdit in 2 weeks. Some things in here that you won't find in that rotor: VoiceOver, the behavior when it deletes a character, how VoiceOver announces indented characters, and indentions can only be marked with spaces and tabs for VoiceOver to announce them. I like to use the indent first line of paragraph, whatever setting in my word processors, and I don't use spaces and tabs. You can also, in text, choose how VoiceOver behaves in relation to the cursor. So does it announce text the cursor passes or to the left of the cursor? Again, we'll talk more about that behavior in TextEdit. And that's text. I'm going to view right.
Announcements, tab 4 of 5.
Notice that these subcategories under verbosity and under different things in VoiceOver are called tabs. And you might think, oh, great. So I remember the days of being able to do Control Tab in Windows. Well, it doesn't work that way here. In order to make a tab active, that is to see its items, we need to hit VO space. Press VO space so that you will see the items related to announcements. Sometimes people try to follow my demos and they can't find what I'm talking about, but they didn't press VO space on the appropriate tab. So we need to do that. VO space.
Selected announcements, tab.
And I'm going to VO right. I'm specifically looking for the announcement about system dialogues, but I will point out a few along the way.
Hints, tab 5 of 5. Announce when mouse cursor enters a window, unchecked.
Again, same thing we kind of saw in Read and Speak. VoiceOver can indicate the position of the mouse and what it's on.
Announce when a modifier key is pressed, unchecked, checkbox.
If you still get confused when you press Command, Option, Control, all those things, VoiceOver can tell you what's what you're pressing.
Announce when the caps lock key is pressed, checked, checkbox.
We had a discussion about this on Mac and Talk. I was definitely aware that VoiceOver you could turn on to announce when the caps lock key was pressed or is pressed. I just forgot that it constantly emits a sound with every typed character. When caps lock is on, it's kind of a high-pitched little beep to tell you that caps lock is on. I have sound effects off in my personal settings. I do not hear that beep.
Speak header when navigating across a table row, checked, checkbox.
Speak the header is like the title information. So when you're moving across a table or down a columns or whatever, it will speak the title of that column or row, provided that tables are developed and labeled properly.
Automatically speak text and dialog boxes, checked, checkbox. Speak zoom magnification changes, unchecked, checkbox. Speak voiceover cursor magnification changes, unchecked, checkbox.
Oops.
When status text changes under voiceover cursor, play tone. When status text changes under voiceover cursor, pop-up button.
And here you could have it play tone or announce speak, do nothing.
When progress indicator changes under voiceover cursor, play tone. When progress indicator changes under voiceover cursor, pop-up button. When number of rows change under voiceover cursor, do nothing. When number of rows change under voiceover cursor, pop-up button. When system dialogues are displayed.
Remember system dialogues. Those were those things that we found if we did VOF1, F1, things like About This Mac or Force Quit, or if any application is kind of popping up an alert demanding your attention, an update, those are system dialogues. And by default, if we VO right,
play tone. When system dialogues are displayed, pop-up button.
VoiceOver plays a tone. But I forget, honestly, what that tone is. I might be surprised here. What is the sound? And I will forget. Oh, that's a system dialogue. So what I like to do is set my VoiceOver to speak and play tone. That way you'll definitely be aware of if there's an important alert on the screen or if you haven't closed out something like when you had to force quit apps or about this Mac or whatever. I'm going to down arrow.
Menu, 3 items, check mark, play tone, speak and play tone.
And I would choose speak and play tone if I down arrow.
Do nothing.
There's also do nothing. I'm going to up arrow.
Speak and play tone.
Press return.
Speak and play.
And now I'll VO right.
Speak size and position in inches. Speak size and position in pop-up button. Speak text under mouse after delay. Uncheck.
Actually, I don't think we need anything else under here.
0.4 sec short. Long help, but
Okay. Let's give VOJ. Oh no, wait a minute. I was trying to go to another category. The final subcategory under verbosity that we need is hints. What if I don't want a VOJ, because that won't really get me to hints, or VO home and then VO right a bunch of times? I know the item that I want to go to and enter the VoiceOver item chooser. You have this on your iPhone. I believe it's a 2-finger quadruple tap. On the Mac, it is VOI, as in item. The item chooser presents a list of all of the elements on screen that you can get to or interact with in some way. It's not the same as searching for text, but it gets you all these items that you could possibly go to. It is a version of the web, it's a sloppy version of the web rotor. The web rotor, as we'll find in Safari, has categories. The item chooser, everything is all just kind of dumped together. Let's do VOI.
item chooser.
And if I simply type the letter H,
25 items, hints, tab 5 of 5.
it says hints, 5 of 5. Great. How do I get there? I need to press return or VO space to move my cursor to hints.
Hints, tab 5.
And then I need to press VO space again
Selected, hints, tab
to
5
make it
of 5.
active. Remember, we select a tab with VO space. Now I'm going to VO right.
Speak instructions for using the item in the VoiceOver cursor, checked, checkbox.
Speak instructions for using the item in the VoiceOver cursor. That's the thing that's saying you are currently on a checkbox. I would recommend turning this off. You're not required to. I'm not forcing you to. I was happy that one of you asked about it, but hints can slow up your experience of using VoiceOver. And like I said, they cannot tell you how to move from step A to step B to step C. They cannot be your guide on, getting things done with VoiceOver. They can only give you kind of a hint or a nudge about the item in front of you. I'll VO space to turn them off.
Unchecked, speak instructions for using the item in the VoiceOver cursor, checkbox.
We can still hear the hint on demand. If you genuinely forget what to do with a checkbox, or you're not sure, oh, I'm in a slider? What's that? How do I get to a slider? To hear the hint on demand, press VO Shift N. I know that hint and VO Shift N, that doesn't quite match, but just think of, have VoiceOver give you a nudge or a note about the item in front of you, VO Shift N as in Nancy or nudge.
You are currently on a checkbox. To select or deselect this checkbox, press Control, Option, Space.
I'm also going to say that as a Braille user, you may want to turn all of the following things in this dialog off. Unfortunately, you cannot turn them off under Braille. You have to turn them off under hints. And it can be really distracting when you see things in Braille. I wish there was a way to separate speech and Braille, but there is not. Let's VO right.
When an item has a help tag. Speak help when an item has a help tag. Pop-up button. Choose how to announce an item's help tag.
Choose how to announce an item's help tag is an example of a help tag. And you can press VO Shift H to hear the help tag on demand. At least VO Shift H matches H for help. Let's continue.
When an item has custom actions. Speak actions. When an item has custom actions. Pop-up button.
That's that thing that constantly tells us to do VO Command space.
When an item has more content. Speak custom content. When an item has more content, pop-up button.
I don't remember what more content is exactly.
Speak hints after delay.
Okay, if you still want to leave hints on, and that's fine, you might try increasing the delay to give you an opportunity to think of what you want to do or what you need to do. Let's VO right.
In text, speak hints out of text.
That was interacting. We did not want to interact. VO right.
0.5 seconds. Speak hints after delay. Slider.
Now we interact in the slider. And if we interact
in slider,
VO right increases the value.
1.0 seconds. 1.5 seconds.
VO left decreases the value.
1.0 seconds.
I'll just leave it there. Whatever. And then we uninteract.
Out of slider.
And VO right.
Short.
And
long. Append phonetic pronunciation to single characters. Unchecked. Check.
If you struggle to hear VoiceOver say this difference between like B and D and I don't know, M and N, you can append the phonetic pronunciation. So that'll be A alpha, B bravo, C Charlie when you're moving by character or spelling things by character.
Help button.
And there we go. Now let's do VOJ to get to our categories table.
In search text field.
VOJ again.
In utility categories, table.
And this time we got to it. I'll down arrow.
Speech.
Now I will uninteract. VO shift up arrow.
Out of utility category.
And we're going to focus on voices. VO right.
Voices. Selected. Tab.
And I'll VO right.
Pronunciation. Tab 2 of 2. Heading primary voice. Mickey. Enhanced. English United States. Button.
You can change your primary voice by pressing VO space on this button. And then you'll be in a dialogue where you can choose the voice and then choose the rate and things. We're going to talk about how to add a voice to the rotor. If you want, we can do a mini lesson on VoiceOver utility subtopics or even just things I don't have a chance to get to tonight. But for now, we're going to discuss how to add and remove a voice from the rotor. Let's VO right.
Heading additional voices. Choose voices to add to the voice rotor. Switch voices in the rotor using Control Option Command Shift left arrow or Control Option Command Shift right arrow.
VO right.
Additional voices. Empty table.
And it's saying empty table. Okay, I'll VO right.
Add voice button.
VO space on add voice.
In dialogue done English.
And it's kind of confusing. It says done and then it says English. I'm going to VO left.
Voice list table.
Okay, this is a table you definitely need to interact with. I don't really see it as a table. There's lots of buttons and things to go into. There's even a heading in here, so we need to interact.
In voice list table. English United States.
Adding a voice to the rotor is a two-step process. First, you will download the voice, and then you will press VO space on it again to add it to the rotor. Let's do VO right.
Download Agnes, 1.5 MB button, speak sample.
Okay, I don't want to do that one.
Download Alex, 885 MB button, speak sample button.
He'll take a while to download. I'm not particularly fond of Alex.
Download Allison, 9.9 MB button, speak sample button.
VO right.
Download Allison Enhanced, 37.6 MB button, speak sample button.
And what if I wanted to see how she sounds? I would interact, VO shift down arrow.
In download.
VO right.
Speak sample.
VO space on speak sample.
Hello, my name is Allison. I'm an American English voice.
And great. Let's say I choose, I'll download her. I'll VO left.
Download Allison Enhanced.
VO space. Now, it's not saying anything, but if I try to VO left.
Stop downloading Allison Enhanced. 66% downloaded button.
And if I VO right.
Speak sample.
VO left again.
Allison Enhanced, using 42.7 MB button.
Okay, Allison Enhanced, using 47 whatever MB. That does not mean she's in my rotor. I need to VO space on her to put her in my rotor. So I'll do that.
Edit voice, scroll area.
And here we can edit the voice. I don't really have time to go and explain, but basically you have all the speech attributes we talked about and then some. You have sliders for all the things we discussed, and you enter the slider in the same way we talked about for hints. Interact, VO right to increase, then VO left to decrease. Things like sentence pause and timbre are steppers. The way you enter a stepper is you interact, and then you use VO up and VO down instead of VO left and VO right. But if you don't really want to mess with any of that, we can VO end
Done, but
to the done button and VO space.
add voice button. Closing.
Okay, let's VO left
Additional voices. Table. No selection.
and down arrow.
Allison enhanced. English. More menu button.
And if I want to VO right,
Add voice button.
VO right,
Remove voice button.
this is where we would remove her. We would hit VO space on remove. Okay? Pretty simple. I'm going to go back in and let's download another voice without listening to it. I'm going to VO left,
Add voice button.
VO space,
In dialogue done. English.
and let's VO right.
Done.
Oh,
but
no, VO left,
voice list.
interact,
In voice list.
and let's VO right.
Download Agnes. 1.5 MB button. Speak sample button.
And let's just pick on Agnes. She sounds awful, but she's quick right here. Let's VO space. And VoiceOver's not saying anything. Well, we can VO right,
Download Alec.
VO left,
Agnes. Using 1.6 MB.
we can VO space. Remember, the only reason I interacted with it before was to hear the voice. If I just want to download a voice, I don't need to interact. I can press VO space. If I want to use it, again, I can just VO right and then VO left to come back and VO space.
Pitch range.
And I'm going to VO end,
Reset voice settings.
VO left.
500 words per minute.
Oh,
500 words per minute. WPM
Okay.
maximum. Stepper.
this has some different values. I'm going to get out of the scroll area, VO shift up arrow,
Out of edit voice.
VO right,
Play button.
VO right,
Done button.
and VO space on done.
Add voice button.
If you want to completely remove the download of a voice, you don't want to just get rid of it out of your rotor, you want to get rid of the download altogether. That's a separate process we can talk about at a future time. Let's quickly take a look at our other categories. This time I'm going to VO home,
Search text.
VO right,
Utility categories.
down arrow.
Navigation.
We'll talk about that.
Web.
Navigation and web we'll cover in Safari.
Sound.
Let's briefly go into sound. VO right.
Mute sound effects. Unchecked. Checkbox.
I have mine checked so I don't hear voiceover sounds.
Enable audio ducking. Unchecked. Check.
Audio ducking lowers the sounds of other things while voiceover is talking. It is very disconcerting when I go into a Zoom meeting and I'm using default voiceover settings and people's voices just get quiet and I'm thinking, what is wrong? It's audio ducking. Even when I use default settings, I turn audio ducking off. In Macintalk several months ago, we started the I Don't Like Audio Ducking Club, and you may be joiners, you may not. You could bring this topic up at Macintalk and see if views have changed, but I do not like it on the Mac. On the iPhone, you are able to customize the audio ducking level. You're not able to do that on the Mac.
Enable positional audio. Checked. Checkbox.
Positional audio is really neat. Positional, I should say. It basically allows you to hear where you are on screen, especially if you're using a headset, stereo headset. And so when I get to things like help, I'll hear it way off to my right side because it's kind of at the bottom right. And if I was to go all the way up to close, that's in the top left. And I'd hear that.
Output device.
Output device. Okay. We're going to find a pop-up button.
System default. Output device. Pop-up button.
By default, VoiceOver uses the system default. That is, whatever sound device is chosen in sound, that's in sound under system settings, under output, VoiceOver will use. But maybe you want to hear VoiceOver on a headset or on your Mac or something and have music playing out loud on a TV or another speaker. You do not want to have VoiceOver on the same device. This is where you would go to change that. If I down arrow,
Menu, 8 items, check mark system default. MacBook Pro speakers.
so I could change it to my MacBook Pro speakers.
Zoom audio
Change
device.
it to my,
Club deck. Multi.
sorry, these are sound devices that have been created in loopback, just ignore.
EPOS C10.
EPOS C10 is my headset. I could choose VoiceOver to come through my headset. There is a trick for sharing audio in Zoom where if you set VoiceOver to your actual headset and not a system default, no one will hear your VoiceOver when you're sharing. I'm going to press Escape.
Closing menu. System
And let's, I think that's really all we need to know under
help
sound.
button.
Let's VO Home,
Search tab.
VO Right,
Utility.
down arrow.
Visuals.
Visuals allow a sighted person to see various aspects of VoiceOver, from the cursor to caption panels to other things. I have them off, but they can be great for a sighted coworker or instructor.
Commands.
Commands. We're going to talk about a couple of things here. We could spend hours in commands. And if you want to add your own commands, different types of commands, definitely let me know and we will do a mini lesson on that. But let's VO Right.
VoiceOver modifier.
VoiceOver modifier. We used to choose our modifier under General. Now we choose it in Commands.
Control Option or Caps Lock VoiceOver modifier. Menu button.
Mine is set to Control Option or Caps Lock. For some reason, this is saying Menu button. You can still get to it with the down arrow or VO space. Let's say you're saying, and one of my students did this a long time ago, they said, Chanel, I do not want to use Caps Lock. And so they turned that off. They made it so their VO modifier was only Control and Option. And so you can do that by VO space or down arrow.
Menu 3 items. Control Option, Control plus Option. Caps Lock, Caps Lock.
Or you're done with using Control and Option, that's fine too, whatever.
Control Option or Caps Lock, Control plus Option or Caps Lock.
I just really like the versatility of both. I'm going to hit Escape to get out of the menu.
Closing.
VO Right.
Also control VoiceOver with.
Okay, the following things can be turned on here, or some of them I will already have told you how to turn on. For instance, trackpad commands. We could turn those on by holding the VoiceOver modifier and twisting 2 fingers to the right on the trackpad. But you can turn them on in the same way, they function the same way, by coming and checking the checkbox here under Commands. Keyboard or Option key commands, which we'll get to. You can check the box or press VO Shift K. I turned on numpad commands by pressing VO and numpad clear, but I could have also come here to check the box. You either use the shortcut or you come and check the box, one or the other. And they both do the same thing. They turn on that specific category of commands. So let's VO Right.
Also control VoiceOver with numpad, checked, checkbox. Edit numpad commands button.
Edit numpad commands. We're not going to do that, but here's where you could see what commands are available and add your own.
Also control VoiceOver with Option key, checked, checkbox.
Okay, and this is the type of thing that allows you to do right option T to hear the time of day, right option M to open mail, right option S to open Safari. And you can choose actually which option key you use. It doesn't have to be right option. Again, the alternate way to turn that on is VO Shift K. Keyboard help is VO K. Keyboard commands, option key commands is VO Shift K. Back in the day, even as recent as a couple years ago, it used to be called Keyboard Commander, but it's Option key commands. VO Shift K or check the checkbox.
Right option key, which option key? Pop-up button.
You can choose right, left, or both. VoiceOver may, or your Mac may throw a fit. It doesn't matter, really. One of the option keys can be used with letters to create special symbols on the Mac. But again, it's not the end of the world if your Mac, doesn't do that. You can use either option key for option key commands.
Edit option key commands button.
And here's where you could edit your option key commands. For instance, I've created some to raise and or increase and decrease the rate and the volume, or to mute and unmute VoiceOver speech.
Also control VoiceOver with trackpad unchecked checkbox.
Trackpad, okay. If you VO right
Trackpad options button.
and you go into trackpad options, you can find a checkbox that says ignore trackpad when VoiceOver is on. And if that is checked, that's precisely what will happen. Your VoiceOver will ignore the trackpad, meaning you can't accidentally bump it when VoiceOver is on.
Edit trackpad commands button. Quick nav.
And we might come back here for quick nav a little bit later in our web. We'll see. Let's return to our categories table. VO home,
Search text.
VO right,
Utility.
down arrow.
Braille.
Braille, you can simply connect a display via USB, no drivers, just get into the display's terminal mode. You would come here to add a display if you want to use it via Bluetooth. You can also come here and choose the translation tables, choose how things are laid out, customize the commands for your specific display. I will say that Braille support on the Mac has gotten a little bit better. I don't use it as much as I maybe should or could. It's great for reading articles on the web or maybe reading things that you type in a document. I just wish that I had more control over the keyboard with my Braille display. But it's great that Mac doesn't require any drivers or any special software to be used with most Braille displays. Let's VO right.
Translation. Utility.
No, I need to down arrow.
Activities.
Activities are specific sets of VoiceOver settings you can use. Maybe you want a reading activity where VoiceOver uses a different voice, a different rate, has no punctuation, and it turns on when you're on the web or an email. Or you have a proofreading activity where VoiceOver speaks all punctuation and speaks attributes when you are reading or composing documents in a word processor. Maybe you want an activity where some VoiceOver commands don't work or where sounds are turned on in one app and not in another. The sky's the limit. Activities have been around on the Mac for a long time. I don't have the time to show you how to customize them and create them, but there's just a ton of stuff in this VoiceOver utility.
VoiceOver recognition.
If you want VoiceOver to recognize images or graphics that you come across, it's not like screen recognition where you turn it on and, any VoiceOver's constantly processing things on your iPhone. It's something that you turn on, download the voice, enable screen recognition, and then VO Shift L anytime you want to have an image under your cursor described. So if we VO right.
Using on-device intelligence, your Mac will automatically improve the accessibility of images. VoiceOver recognition should not be relied upon in circumstances.
Right, and that's the disclaimer. VO right.
Image descriptions, checked, checkbox.
If it's unchecked, it will download. That's what I was trying to get out earlier. It will download what it needs. Then when you're on an image, you can do VO Shift L. Let's go ahead and VO left.
Utility category.
And down arrow.
Screen sharing.
Our final category is screen sharing. You can control another computer with VoiceOver using FaceTime or however the features that the apps that Apple has allowed sharing in, messages, FaceTime. Herbie and I did try once several months ago, about a year ago. It didn't work all that well, but it looks like they've added a few customizations here, so maybe we'd have a better experience now. And that is your really rough overview of the VoiceOver utility. If you have any questions or want additional review on any of this, we can definitely do that.
Finder.
But now
Loopback.
we are
switch.
ready to take questions. Let's see. I'm just going to let's see, do this. Okay, so who would like to ask a question? Let's see. Yeah, you should be able to unmute. So, do we have any questions? I know that was a lot of stuff. There is no review session this Thursday, so you'll have ample time, hopefully, to review. Herbie, is there anything you think should be covered or?
Just make sure that, like I said, you do have this week off for the review session, but make sure that gives you an opportunity to go over lesson 3 from last week and be extra prepared for it next week. I would like to see a bit higher attendance than what we got last week. And just a reminder, if attendance remains low, I will start exercising my right to only distribute the recordings to those who showed up. So, hope to see more. Thank you to those that did show up last week, and hope to see more of you next week. Remember, it's at 6:30 Central Time, and we're open 15 minutes before. So, yeah.
All right.
This is Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny.
I wanted to thank you for the lesson. It was definitely very in depth.
All right. And yeah, and I hope I know you haven't figured out a way to have, a microphone yet for Siri, but at least maybe you can try using Option Space as your Siri keyboard shortcut, and you'll have an easier time talking to her.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that on the mic and see what happens.
Very good. All right. And last call for questions, comments, anything else? Okay, well, in that case, have a good week, and we will see you next Tuesday. And if any questions arise over the week, definitely feel free to ask them on the email list as you're going through the recording, studying. Everybody, it's a great learning opportunity for everyone. So have a good evening.